I didn't have anything going on, and I was like, I'm actually not going to go hang out with everybody. I'm going to sit in my hotel room and watch the next episode instead. And there was this like cosmic event that was going to destroy the planet, and so they basically took all of the land mass and created this large like shield wall essentially. I think it really does something fun to give people who are used to like just describing things primarily on the surface level, and then reminding them, well, what does your partner feel in this moment? I have a hard time with like games with dice because I'm a person, my dice luck is
The Wheel of Time. It has contributed significantly to the way I thought worlds should be built. It promoted the idea of magic having strict rules, like the laws of physics, and was a big inspiration for the works of Brandon Sanderson, who helped finish the series after Jordan's demise. Now, fans of Wheel of Time, like me, were stuck in a limbo for a long time waiting for a potential TV series or movie or an anime that could do justice to the story, and we got that through the Amazon Prime Video series. Though it was cancelled after arguably its best season yet and one of the best episodes in fantasy television, both visually and narratively, it left a mark on us. We wanted more. Perhaps in a ttrpg. My introduction to you first was when Wheel of Time Season 3 was coming out, rest in peace.
yeah.
And at that time, I didn't know a lot of, Wheel of Time fans.
Yeah.
I'm sure like people were like, okay, Wheel of Time, it exists now, but everybody still is like, okay, Lord of the Rings is the, the cream of the crop, as people would say. And Wheel of Time, sure, it's there, but it's too long. I haven't read it. Oh, I got like one books into it. But you were like, yeah, I've read Wheel of Time. Like, oh, fucking finally.
Yeah.
And then we used to like fanboy each over, like, oh my god, they did this, they showed this, they did that. It was so good to finally have someone to talk to about this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it is. It's interesting because it's like when I got into it, I remember I ended up living with this guy, my best friend, and I lived in a different state. And then we picked up a third roommate, and we all moved in together. But before we moved in, he was at my house, and I was buying them. I was in college, so I was buying them used from the small local bookstore. And I had one on my dresser, and he was like, which one of you is reading this? And I was telling him about it, and he's like, oh yeah, like he was like, super into it. All of his like D&D buddies that he introduced us to, that was the first time I ever played D&D, they had all read it, a bunch of older dudes, but yeah, since then it's like, it wasn't something that a lot of people have read. I think in the TTRPG space there's one other friend that I have that has actually read the books. And then people started watching the show, which is good. But apparently not enough people watch the show for Amazon. So here we are. Here we are. Miserable and sad and missing our show.
Wheel of Time as a book, to me, has like opened up so many avenues of thinking, okay, this is what magic can be. This is what actually a system of government can be. Okay, is this allegory for church and the state, or is this an allegory for the corporations and the state, and how are all of them intermingling? Mm-hmm. So when we come to Soothwardens, we had a conversation when the show was coming out, that you had an idea of how the warder and the Aes Sedai bond could take place. The Aes Sedai, for those who don't know, the Aes Sedai are like the Gandalfs of this world.
Yeah.
They are the primary magic users of the Wheel of Time world, and they have a sort of a guardians, or they have a guardian companion, like kind of a bodyguards called Wardens, and they have a bond which is linked by magic, and it doesn't have to be intimate, although it is sometimes for the green Aja, but
shout out to a lot.
But it's a lot of the intense emotional bond that both of them share.
Yeah.
And it spoke to me when I was reading through the quick start of Soothwardens. So, was it the main inspiration, and were there like other pieces of media that you got inspired from?
Yeah, I mean, it really was that. I think when season 2 was coming out, that was the first time that I went to Big Bad Con. And I remember there was like a mid-morning where I didn't have anything going on, and I was like, I'm actually not gonna go hang out with everybody. I'm gonna sit in my hotel room, which was like not the main hotel. I had to like walk down a mile or so and watch the next episode instead. And so I was watching season 2, and then but I had also been like recently just rewatched season 1 in preparation for season 2. And there's there's a scene early on where you learn that one of the characters, Moraine, is an Aes Sedai. She starts using magic. These monsters show up, and she starts just launching fireballs and earth at them. And while she's doing that, her warder Lan is just around her with his sword, cutting anything that gets close enough down. And I'm like, I love this relationship of like, I know where you are, you know where I am, and we both know we have each other's back, and we aren't necessarily fighting the same thing all the time. And so I was thinking about like, how would that work? And I was like, well, I don't want it to be I don't want it to be gendered, because I just think like, I mean, the books were written in the 90s and the 80s also, maybe. So, this is a thing, an unfortunate thing from the past, that I don't think we should continue. There's also like there's a weird power dynamic, right? Because the Aes Sedai is the one that's in control. She's the one that like creates the bond. Yeah. She's the one that can decide when it's gone, whether the warder agrees to it or not. Like, and she can do magic and like literally just like tie you up with air and leave you there, and there's nothing you could do about it. And so I wanted it to be more equal and more of a a partnership, right? Like a true partnership that's like, we're in this together. So these decisions, we're going to make them together. And there are some things you can do in Soothwardens that can, just give you some drama, right? Some conflict. But yeah, I really wanted, like, that was like the things. And then so I really had to like, okay, how am I going to do this? Because I wanted, these like very competent warriors. And so I was like, well, I have a hard time with like games with dice, because I'm a person, my dice luck is not the best all the time. Which can be fun in the right game. The other game I created, The Corrupted, when you fail, things happen, so it's fun. It changes the battlefield. It changes what she might do next. So when failure means something, it's dynamic. But I think like in fantasy games, classically like D&D and Pathfinder, when you fail, you just don't hit, and then nothing happens. And if you have a bad luck day and you just don't hit, then it's like, well, cool, this really powerful, awesome character that I have that has all these abilities did nothing today. I spent 3 hours playing a game and I did nothing fun. And so I was like, well, I don't want that. So I was like, okay, well, I think the only way I can do this then is to take luck out of it and make a diceless game, which I've never done. Prior to making this game, had never played a diceless game. So I was like, well, I guess I gotta learn a new skill. But yeah, so it was a lot of that. And then I think like the biggest thing, the other big inspirations there was like, well, the combat of the Wheel of Time TV show is great, but I want this to be over the top. And so then I was thinking about like Castlevania, Jujutsu Kaisen, lots of animated inspiration there. Because I think like that's when I GM, that's how I narrate it. Like you're flying through trees, and the earth's exploding around you, and it's all this stuff, and it's like
very
your character's
Attack on Titan-esque.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, like in Attack on Titan, you can fly through trees and then bash into a wall in the house, and you're fine. I mean, sure, you'll be a bit bruised, you'll have some bleeding, but it's over the top.
Yeah. So, I enjoy the sort of animated logic or like superhero logic of like, the only attacks that like are going to hurt you are like they're narratively significant. You know, you've gotten to a point where you can't hold out any longer, and then I think that freedom gives people the chance to like think about how they're describing that and go from there. It's really fun.
Using dice has been a core part of playing or designing TTRPGs, as it brings in chance to a situation your player might find themselves in. Roll bad and the situation turns against you, and roll good enough and you pass with flying colors. But using systems like belonging outside of belonging, one of the most famous examples being Wanderhome, it utilizes tokens rather than dice. You could plan more, add narrative to the game rather than pure chance. Taking that into consideration, for Nawar, dice luck didn't work in tandem with the type of game he was designing. Enter his Luckless system.
Well, at first I couldn't find any Dices games. There wasn't any that I was aware of, and there was a couple that my mentor Quinn Murphy talked to me about. One of them was an old Marvel game that they made decades ago, that I couldn't find a copy of, and then there was another one. I'm blanking on the name. And then Spencer Campbell came out with Hunt and I think Thorn also. And so that was a good, like, let me go look at these mechanics. How did he solve this problem? And I think he did an excellent job and solved it in a way that I think is really cool. But I didn't fully. I am very stubborn as a game designer. And I think game design is one of those places where to me I feel like it's okay to reinvent the wheel if you can make a game that works. Like I think, keep hacking PBTA. It's a great system. Genuinely, it's a great system. And I think like if you find the right game and tone for that to work, then you should do that. But I also think like don't just make a PBTA game because it's convenient for you. Like if your game's missing something because you put it in that box, now you didn't make the best game you could have made. And so I think like that's sort of where I went with that. Like there are things that I want my game to do that I can't get them to do if I use a system that somebody's already done. So yeah, so you start out with 20 two different trackers, a total of 20. So you have heart and you have stamina. You're these Soothwardens, so you're two players bonded or linked together. Let's use the correct legal term for this. You're linked together, and you basically you have to fight these monsters, and these monsters you meet them in reality, like in the world that we live in, or the world that these characters live in, and each of those monsters has another side of them in a different plane of existence called the break. So they sort of like live in this parallel world, and they break through reality. They sort of like attach to an image or a creature or something in the environment that they break from, and then they become something like that, a corrupted form, a mutated form of that. And then on the other end, in the break, is another monster that's sort of like not necessarily, it doesn't have to be even remotely similar to the one that you find, but there's something, it's still attached, it's linked together. So you two link together, one of you stays in reality and fights, the other one goes into the break and fights. So in order to win, like there's no dice, right? So you have to investigate. So it's like you might come into a town and maybe they lost 6 people over the past week that have been taken by this thing. And so you'll talk to people, you'll try to find tracks, you'll maybe try to see like if they know where it's coming from, and you can observe it from afar to like get an idea of how it moves, that kind of thing. And all of that comes from spending stamina. So investigating, you can spend 1, 2, 3, or 4 stamina. And each of those has a different result. So you only have a total of 20, and you use stamina as well once you're fighting to heal yourself and each other. And so you want to, you could just be like, cool, I'm just going to spend 4 each time and have nothing. If you spend all of it, you're going to pass out. Like you physically can't move anymore. You're asleep because you've used up all your energy. And you also want to be able to heal yourself or your partner. So you have to decide, like, all right, I'm talking to this person. How much do I want to know? I guess I'll invest 4. And 4 is like you get a true answer plus an extra special thing. 3 is a true answer. 2 is a superstitious answer or slightly helpful, and 1 is a vague answer. Could be unhelpful, which kind of gives the GM like maybe you're just like, I just need something quick, right? I don't want to spend a lot of time here. I know that like this thing's coming back every 4 hours. I've only got 1 hour left. Let me just do a quick. What's something that somebody can tell me off rip? So you'd spend 1, and maybe you get something helpful or not. And then when you fight, you use heart, and so heart is sort of like your willingness to stay in the fight itself. So you have to spend some to stay together. You spend 1, you're linked. You've created a tether that is, keeps one of you, keeps you being able to pull each other back and forth as you need. And then each warden, each warder. Now I can't. Yeah, every time I talk about Wheel of Time and Soothwardens at the same time, it always fucks me up. As a warden, you have a paradigm path. So there's power, speed, range, and what I call fabrication, which is just magic. You put a number of 1, 2, 3, and 4 in each of those. 1 being this is the best thing this is what you're best at, and then so on and so forth. So if I have a 1 in power and a 4 in fabrication, it costs me, if I want to do magic, I have to spend 4 to do magic. But you do this thing called sustaining. So let's say you've learned this creature going up against it's not very strong, but it is very fast. So it's like, okay, well, I'll sustain 1 power, and then I'll sustain 3 speed, or 2 speed and 1 range, because I want to hit it from a distance. I want it to get close to me. And so you have to try to make those numbers match up based on your research of the monster, so that you can catch it and then fight it. And then once you fight it, you also have to figure out its true weakness. So there is some strategy to the game that basically acts as like we're taking luck out of this, so you have to like do some work to try to figure out like, how do I build the best fight here? And you might not be the best one for it. You might go into it thinking, this thing is suited to beat me up. I'm not fast enough for it. I'm not strong enough for it. Whatever. Which I just enjoy. I enjoy high stakes. Or maybe you aren't able to discern enough about the other half of this thing that's in the break, and so the wrong one of you goes into that, and the other person's suited for that better. Like, how do you send through this link to each other? Like, I'm afraid, I'm nervous about this, or do you just pop back in? So there's like consequences of like fighting them on only one planet at a time. There's there's just like different actions that you can take, and all the while you're linked together, you're feeling each other, genuinely, like, I feel your pain, your sorrow, your grief, your joy. And then the last like big thing is that after a certain point of like you spent so much, you can take on conditions, and those conditions are things like envy, melancholy, like just sort of like difficult things that have sort of come over you in the fight or through your journeys. And the only way to clear those is to speak the truth to the other person, because it's like, if I can tell that you're lying all the time, you don't necessarily have to be honest. I just know that it's a lie. So it's like, when do you decide to like share that moment? Yeah.
I like that you call the channeling of magic fabrication.
Yeah.
It reminds me like the fabric of Wheel of Time, and like weaves in it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. I see, you know what.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Also, what's the is there a mechanic on how do you recover stamina and heart? Because once you spend it,
Yeah, I mean,
how do
so
you get it back?
basically, like your characters are essentially something of a sort of like a demigod. Like the magic that's in you is extremely powerful, but it is limited. And so, like resting is enough. But like, let's say you went into the fight and you overshot how much you needed. Like you were just like you went in like this thing's fast and you go way too fast and you're way too powerful. That's cool. Like you're still gonna fight better, but you're not fighting efficiently, right? And so maybe you find out that like in 2 or 3 rounds you're almost maxed out with your heart. Then you can use your stamina to heal yourself. If your partner uses their stamina to heal you, it always makes it costs less. So like for every one that I spend of stamina, you get 2 heart back. Versus if you do it yourself, it's a 1-to-1 ratio. And then just resting, like, and it's not like you have to sleep for 8 hours, but like you're just not fighting anymore. You're relaxing. You're hanging out. Not doing any like sort of like big. When you're in the fight, it's not as easy to get that back, but it definitely comes back. And basically, as you defeat them, you can there's things that happen that increase your stamina and your heart. So over time, you can make that number higher than 20. Currently, like the character sheets go up to 40. I don't know if I'll make it any larger than that with the full game. I think it's one of those things of like, how often do campaigns go on long enough where you might hit that number anyway. And then, so we'll see. But yeah, I mean, there's and it's also, so you basically, like, each character has like a motivation and fear, and when you face those, you can sort of put those points towards increasing your heart and your stamina.
One of the cool parts of this game is called the Dirge. Now, the Dirge is a weapon and a tool literally made out of the stone fossils of the world's saviors. It embodies the feeling of magical weapons and adds a spoonful of lore to make it that much more sweeter.
Yeah. So basically, like in the world, there was 3,000 years ago, there was these like mages that were possibly the creators of humanity, and there was this like cosmic event that was going to destroy the planet, and so they basically took all of the land mass and created this large like shield wall, essentially, so that one side of the planet would be devastated, but they could protect everything that was they could sort of cradle in the center. And so the world now is like this ring of mountains that are taller than Everest, like double the size of Everest. And in the event of doing that, these 8, they're called Omerim, also made themselves as massive as that. And so they stand in sort of these 8 directions as like these everlasting guardians. But something is still alive inside of them, and they give their magic to the Wardens, and they sort of hear it through this like song that's not really words, but they understand it, almost as like somebody pulling the strings of fate. Their bodies, when they became petrified, they sort of took on some of the dust and metal from this event, and their magic intermingled, and so they're made of this like peculiar metal. And so the directive that these Omerim gave the Wardens, the first ones, is like collect shavings from each of us and basically forge it into this rod. And that rod is called a dirge, and it's called a dirge because it's the soul song of the dead, basically. And it's how you return that song back to reality. And so you can turn that into any weapon. This is a world that doesn't have colonism by any means. So because it's non-colonial, I have to give some direction about like, well, why would there be murder machines, aka swords, right? But so like the explanation is like, well, people have been doing martial arts sport for thousands of years, and this place is no different. People compete for different things, whether it be just like bragging rights or glory, or Olympic competition, whatever it is, right? And it takes a lot of skill to swing a 3-foot long bladed weapon around and not hurt yourself. And so if you like, what would it be like to do that? And then now you're fighting monsters and you can use that sword. I'm partial to spears, but people, so it kind of gives you like an excuse to go whatever culturally your character can think of, or you just want to do because you think it'd be awesome. Do that. The first time I played as a player, my character turned his dirge into a long chain with a like spinning shield at the end. And that was a lot of fun. Fought like this monster that like
spinning shield.
Yeah, think of like Captain America, but instead of throwing it at, like just as its own, like it's just like on this long like whip like chain. Yeah. Very, very fun. Yeah, so the dirge can just become anything, and you can change it in the middle of combat. And so you might like hit somebody with the big hammer as they're flying away, change it into a bow and shoot them with the bow.
That reminds me a lot of Stormlight, how they use because they can change the Nice Radiant, they can change the weapons on the fly from whatever they're comfortable with. Not the Nice Radiant, not the spoilers, not the things that are like stuck as swords.
I mean, I think like it was subconscious, I do believe, but I think like going back now, my favorite superhero has always been Green Lantern. So
yes.
I was just like, I wanted to give like, what's this thing that can like mean something to the mythology and of these people, but also you're not stuck with it only being one sort of thing, and then you can like watch it like grow as you defeat these monsters, these breakers. You can that part of their essence goes into that dirge, and it can grow in size, it can change like the color, it can change like it can take on glyphs or whatever, or maybe it's like, I want mine to permanently be a sword, and so like over time it just sort of grows into the shape of that, and you don't have to like change it.
So again, the dirge is a very cool thing that you have introduced, and could somebody use it as a mundane thing? For example, a walking stick, which they can just brandish it off, suddenly turn it into a sword and go into a fight, or use it in their investigation itself.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no reason that you couldn't. In fact, the first playtest that we recorded, there's an old warden who's like, she lost her partner decades ago and just sort of gave up. She didn't want to go through that again, and so she basically uses hers as a cane to walk, and so she's got like part of it, and then like has like sort of fit in wood to like finish it off, but it's like an indicator for the wardens that meet her. They're like, hang on, that looks like a dirge to me. But yeah, certainly I think like I'm huge on accessibility, so I think that's just fun. But yeah, definitely for whatever, maybe I lost my fork, just gotta use it for that. But I think like, yeah, it's really fun. It's just there are some taboos, right? So like, you can't just take more than you need. You can't take a bunch of this Omarim's metal shavings and like turn it into armor, for instance. As a Soothwarden, you like, it is like a very sacred thing to carry this weapon, and so you use it for that specifically. And the other part, so at the beginning, these Soothwardens, they had to travel the world. It took like 6 years to like get to each one, and make this dirge and finally be able to fight back. But seeing how long that journey took, they started basically a system where they would go out and collect it for the next generation that came in, and then they set up schools. And so like when people are like, I'm ready to like accept this mission of being a Soothwarden, and they can feel the call and feel the magic go through them, then they can just go to one of these academies and just get a dirge and then learn how to like become a Soothwarden and spend the time to like do it without having to go make that trip yet. And then they can make that trip when they're ready to be set off into the world.
You said that it is a taboo. A
Yes.
taboo does not mean that you can't do it, right?
Right. Somebody might beat your ass though.
Yeah, but
I think a better word than taboo is anathema.
okay,
Yeah.
because
You should not.
immediately, like when you said taboo, like, oh, I can think of a really, I can think of a few antagonists through the game apart from monster. Like very, I forget the name from the Star Wars prequels. The guy with the swinging lightsabers. General Kenobi.
General Grievous.
General Grievous.
Yeah.
Yes, General
Yeah.
Grievous.
Yeah. Okay. So yes. Now, should a GM make NPCs do it? Bad guys? Yeah, I'm all for that. And you might be actually caught onto something that I've already thought about. But yeah, I'm all for it, because I think like that's fun, right? Like, what does that mean to like walk up on somebody and they're like mining the foot of this, thing that is sacred to you and to most of the world. So yeah.
So you say like one warden goes to the other side of the break
Yes.
and battling at the same time, or like they can
Yeah.
one be like just like, oh, so they're battling at the same time, both the monsters.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Two simultaneous fights on two different planes of existence.
Okay. Yeah, I get that. That's a cool way to do it. Instead of just because if like one person just stays back and one person goes, then it's like you break the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that was my
Yeah.
original thing. I was thinking like, okay, how do I make like being Moraine in the courtyard cool, and also being land in the courtyard cool? Because it feels like to me like making the land in the courtyard cool, that's easy. Like the sword fighter who's just like doing flips around and like circling, but it's like you're the person doing the magic. You stay in one spot, and like, how does that feel cool in the moment? And so I think like that's where I decided like, how can I make this, or you have to fight two different fights at once. And so yeah, so then I'll give you like a preview. One of the things that I'm doing, there will be additional archetypes outside of what's in the quick start. The next like big one is called a soothsayer, because that's where Soothwardens comes from. And the soothsayer is like somebody who only does magic. Like they can't physically imbue themselves with better strength or speed or projection of their dirge.
Yeah.
They just do magic, and they can do it really well and easy, but they also, it's harder for them to protect themselves, so they're taking more damage. They have to consider like, I can do all this stuff, but if I want to hold on to it, like let's say I've captured the monster and I've held it still, now I have to hold on to that magic and figure out a different way to like fight them, and all of that adds up, right? And so taking that character and making it still dynamic and fun in a way that's like going to allow them to like feel good, and so far it's worked. Excuse me, it's worked really well. But yeah, it's fun to think about like the different ways that this can manifest for people, because not everybody wants to like change their dirge into a big sword and chop something, and so yeah, so thinking about different ways. And I think like the other part is with paradigm paths, you also have these talents that can like make you do certain things easier. You can make characters in a lot of different variations, and so however you decide like what your play style is going to be for that character, you can sort of build that. So it's fun for me. Like I like to like think about like how would I build Richter from Castlevania, or recently I built for one of our friends, Kelly, Gabby Maru from Hell's Paradise. Like how do you like play that character in Soothwardens? So because you're just talking about like these four like basic things: power, speed, range, magic, and then you have these different abilities that you can do. It just sort of like you fit this in, create your little archetype, and then you go. So
now, so far in the interview, I've seen a ton of cool things about this game. But what is the coolest thing about this game that stands out for Navar, the designer? What is your favorite aspect of play in this game?
I think it's the introspective roleplay. I think it really does something fun to give people who are used to like just describing things primarily on the surface level, and then reminding them, well, what does your partner feel in this moment? And like having people think about that, I think is really fun. I really, really enjoy like what that does for the table dynamics and what that makes like how that sort of creates this situation of like you're looking at this person as a whole person. It's not just like this is like your hot bard that's in your party, and you're like trying to figure them out. Like you're still trying to figure this person out, but there's also this added aspect of like, well, I'm trying to figure it out, but there's also all this other stuff that I know is going on, that I have to interpret or ask you, and which is a really interesting thing to like go into a roleplay situation of. So that's huge. That, and I think like over the top combat. Really, like I'm as a person who has been reading fantasy fiction since he could open a book, and as a person who loves animation, like it's just so fun to me to just narrate that stuff and think about like what that looks like. And so yeah.
Speaking of anime and inspirations, the Dirge, it's very anime-esque.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
One thing that's always on my mind as a person who is busy with his life, his day job, etc., is how many games can I play? Do I have to be stuck in a campaign, or can I play as a one-shot? And with such a feelings delving system, I also want to know how many links I can form with my players. And what about trust? Trust would be a minimum requirement, wouldn't it? Do you play it with complete strangers, or acquaintances, or close friends? Are the people from the manosphere allowed? Can it just be a one shot? Can it be, or does it have to be, at least you need at least 2-3 rounds to get to at least one, I would say, monster?
I think that you could do it in a one shot if you're moving. I think especially like if people have played it before, you can do it. I think just going off of like recording from like start of the actual game to fighting and finishing that and like resolving that, I think it was like 4 hours. So it just depends on how you play, right? I think it's one of those things, like I think I tried to make games, like especially my big games, I tried to make them that can be both. So you can do one shot, mini series situation, or a long campaign. For The Corrupted, which is the first big game I made, I've been playing in a campaign for 2 years. So I think you could do that with Soothwardens too.
Soothwardens, as long as they're alive, they can keep doing it, or they can take on a new or form a new link.
Right.
Or bond. Yeah, link. Sorry, not bond.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't get us sued. Yeah, I really put myself in a pickle there, but yeah, for sure. I think like the world is large. Things could go wrong. The characters might decide like to take a decade off or whatever, right? Or you might just do like a time skip. I'm big on time skips in games, because really like the other situation with this is like as long as you're using the magic keeps you alive. So, so what does that mean, right? When you're like, let's say your wardens decide to get married, and it's like, well, we've looked like we were 26 for the past 150 years, so like maybe we just take a break and age up a little bit, and then go back to doing magic again. So yeah, it's fun to think about. Like in the API I have coming out, I introduced a character that's like well over 300 years old, and the players, their characters were like in their 20s and 30s, so it was really fun to like
And
conceptualize that.
and there's no. I'm assuming there isn't. Is there a hard limit of how many links you can form with like other wardens?
It put a hard limit on it, but I do think like because we know this from the Wheel of Time, like there is they like there's like the magic number of 13 or whatever, and you have to like have like other people like joining in to make it larger. But whenever they do that, there's no real, they don't really talk about like the situation of like what that's like to like feel all those other people in your brain at the same time. And I think like as much as that the bond from Wheel of Time inspired Soothwardens, part of what made me want to go that route is because I wanted it to be more fleshed out. And so I think like having more than 2 other people linked to you might be a lot, right? And I think like in terms of the game balance, you probably break every combat doing that. But I do think in the lore of the world, it would be difficult, because it's such a big on taking from the emotional perspective of it. All of this rush of like, I know so much right now about this person who's now linked with me, and that's sort of weird. Oh, they just turned it off because they felt too weird about it. Now what does that mean for this whole thing? So
This is not something that I know of, but I just know a few people who are in polycules. I mean, like I think like talking to them and how they regulate emotions being in a polycule itself.
yeah.
I think not an if, but when I play this game, I'll probably like ask for their help as well. Like, hey,
Yeah.
like because it's an intense thing. People like assume like, oh, like being in a polycule or having so many people around, it'll be so much fun. But no, there's a lot of things that people don't consider.
Yeah.
Being in one relationship is hard as it is. It's
Yeah.
a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. Imagine, I mean, like, kudos to them. Even with like, my thing is because this game deals, this game makes you be vulnerable to other people. Again, that requires incredible amount of trust as well. If you as a character are being vulnerable, is there some bleed involved in that, and especially, and then if somebody decides like, I'm going to be a bad guy, then oh my god, it really has to be a trustful table. Like, okay,
Yeah.
you're going to be a bad guy, but it's going to be you as a character, not you as a player.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
So I feel like it only certain tables who know each other and can trust each other should be doing that, I would say.
Yeah.
It would make for a really cool story though.
Yeah. I think most of the
yes.
time that I've played, people have been either like friends already, and so they're like, cool, I want to do a messy dynamic, you know what I mean? Like, let's be a divorced couple that linked together.
Hard.
Yeah. Or it's people who are like, I'm open to just like meeting as people who maybe went to the academy together or whatever, but like we weren't like friends before, so no, or we were friends and now it's like, well, cool, I guess now you have to like, you're gonna understand like how my heart feels when I look at you. That's weird. I guess we got to deal with that at some point. So yeah, it's just fun. I think like you do got to have a trusting table because you're going to be vulnerable. But I think it's one of those things like you also have to like put some stuff away, right? Like I think I think if you have like, if you harbor a lot of toxic masculinity, this game's probably not going to be for you. Like, you know, two dude bros
Or
being like,
conversely,
hey, let's link together.
or conversely,
Hey, whoa, dude.
use this game to break out of that.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, so I think like, you know, it's fun. I hope that people test out tons of different dynamics. The friends that I have that have played it are constantly showing me their ideas of different things that they're going to do with it. So I really enjoy just seeing that and seeing the mess, because it's just fun. You know, it's fun to be like, cool, like, you know, it, and also going back to like playing like D&D or whatever, like when you show up in the tavern, everybody's like, oh, is the bartender hot, or, you know, whatever, and it's like, yes, and you both clock that in each other, that you just notice that. You know what I mean? Like, what does that mean, right? To like figure out like that sort of like, when do we get past jealousy, when do we get past insecurity, like, you know, when do we have the conversation of like what this is doing to our minds about each other, or if it does anything at all, right? Or like, I have this but you don't reciprocate it and I can tell, so what's happening? How do we get past this? And do we even need to get past this to be able to do our jobs, or can we just figure out how to do our jobs? I think is all just really fun narrative role play stuff that I enjoy.
It takes me back to the video I recently watched of my friend Assis. She talked about because she has autism, but she's like, okay, I do a lot of masking.
Yeah.
I have to do a lot of masking. So my immediately thought went to, okay, what are the, you know, implications of, you know, masking in it, and especially for autistic characters. Like, you know, it brings up, at least it doesn't like give me an idea, but it like raises a lot of questions for me, who like would want to see like, okay, or people to talk about it a little bit more, especially in this game where it is there as a kind of a mechanic.
Yeah. And I am autistic, and you know, that's something I think about all the time, which I think like is fun for me. I think it makes it, for me at least, it makes it easy to sort of think about, because it's like I can role play through the introspection, right? So my character's masking and they're having to deal with this stuff, or they're not masking and they're dealing with this stuff. I think it's an easier sort of thing to like help me wrap my head around, which I do think like helps in real life to like sort of recognize the pattern of behaviors and like why people do things, and listen to somebody else explain like what's going on with their character's body language versus what their character is feeling going through. So yeah.
So as of now, this game has launched for crowdfunding on Backerkit, but it is for a short period of time, so go ahead and get them. It has my stamp of approval and I cannot wait to play this game. It's being published through Plus One Experiences publishing platform, so go check them out as well. They are doing some great work for RPGs in the industry. So as of you know, this video coming out, the campaign has just started. What are you looking for from the campaign?
This would be the first time that I've ever done crowdfunding for a game. I was very fortunate when I put The Corrupted out that I managed to get that published pretty quickly, and unexpectedly, and so yeah, this is great. I'm working with Plus One EXP again, but yeah, I just want to get a lot of copies out there.
Great,
get some in retail. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, get some in some local game stores would be cool. Somebody sent me a picture of my game The Corrupted in a game store in Boston, which is wild. That's where my dad was born. So yeah, it's just always, I just always feel really grateful anytime people are like, hey, I saw your thing like in the middle of nowhere. And that's wild. As a person who always wanted to be a writer since I was a kid, like to be able to do that and like show my kids like, hey, here's a book with your dad's name on it. It's just really fun.
That's awesome. And how long will the campaign last, and when can people start expecting the actual book?
Yeah, the campaign will last about I think it's 3 weeks, so it's a little bit of a shorter one. But it starts my birthday, so when you're hearing this, wish me happy birthday by supporting the game. Yeah, when people can expect it. I am doing most of the primary writing, so I think I will be able to wrangle freelance writers pretty quickly, I think, because it's not going to be a ton of stuff. The game will hopefully be around 200 pages, so really just like art and editing and things like that. I don't think it'll be more than a year, but I've never done crowdfunding, so I don't want to like promise a specific time. But I do know that as a person who supports games that get crowdfunded, I don't want anybody to wait 5 years for that. I plan on having most of the stuff done on my end, like as before or as it's ending, and then just sort of coordinate the people as we hit those goals, those stretch goals. So
Awesome. Are there any pieces of media for Soothwardens that we can go look for? Apart from this one, watch this video, guys.
yeah, of course. Yes, watch this. So there is a playtest version. As of the time of us recording this right now, there's a playtest 2-shot on Secret Nerd Podcast, is my podcast. I'm also in post-production of a I believe it's going to be 10 episode series of Soothwardens, which we took some time. It's using the updated rules. It's a lot more exploration of the characters and their development together, and hopefully that is out or coming out soon as of this recording, or when you hear this rather. You can also go check out Game Master Monday did a I think it's also a 2-shot, 2 or 3 episodes, ran by the wonderful Alyssa, a disaster queer on Blue Sky. Alyssa is one of my biggest supporters and my friend, and they are fantastic. And they said that I wrote this game for lesbians, and I support that.
Yeah, I support that too.
I support that message. So yeah, those, I think that's it right now. I know that there are others coming. I just don't want to blow up anybody's spot if they haven't set those plans in stone yet. But yeah, just keep an eye out for it. If you follow me on Blue Sky or whatever, I will repost people's stuff when they're playing my games.
Also, the art is so good.
Oh, this is going to video, right?
Yeah.
Look at this. Look at this.
It's fucking beautiful.
It's just so good. No, that's my map. We don't need to see my map. Who cares about the map? Look at this. So that's one of the Omarim statues that I was talking about. Yeah, we got more coming too. Art of Joshua Clark, and my friend Zakia, who did the cover for The Corrupted, Zakia Goggins. Yeah, their art's incredible. There's definitely going to be more art coming. I haven't decided yet if there will be additional artists doing the work, but I know that for sure Joshua's going to carry a lot of that.
Yeah,
it's just so good. Yeah, absolutely. Get you a great artist, pay them what they deserve, be happy with the work.
Speaking of +1 experience, my game Monsters Ate My Homework is going to be coming out in September. We had to postpone the date a little bit, but it's for sure coming out in September. The game is finished. There are a couple of actual plays coming out of it, so stay tuned for that. And I'll see you in the next one. For people, just in case I missed anything, during this interview when I re-listened to it. What is there? Let me just stop this recording real quickly.
Yeah, make sure this